Well, welcome back to the Property Frontline. Today I'm here with Phil and Vijay, and our topic is how to fund your duplex project. So we're going to get started. So Vijay, tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay, so I'm a finance broker. I specialize in residential, commercial development funding. So when it comes to duplex construction, it's something that we do day in, day out.
You also do some developments yourself, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. So I've dabbled a little bit in construction myself. I've done a couple of duplexes and residential small developments, but yeah, nothing big.
Yep, okay. And Phil, what about you?
So I run Dion Capital, which is a Sydney-based investment manager. We fund broker and property deals, so mainly metro cities, and duplexes are some of our investments.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, so what are the ways people can fund their duplex or even something similar? So these days in New South Wales, we can do manor homes, that kind of thing, but like a small development project.
Okay, so duplexes usually get funded like an ordinary construction loan. So there's a few things that you need. So you also need the site, and in terms of construction, we need a builder's contract, fixed price builder's contract, a set of specifications, and approved plans. Now we can go off concept plans, and then the loan gets conditionally approved, and then the way to get a formal is you give us a formalized approved plans and a final builder's contract. So they're essentially the three things you need to get a duplex project funded to the banks.
So even if people have, if they already own the property, and then, they'll get their DA or whatever.
Yes.
Or if they're buying the property, is that a different sort of scenario?
Yeah. So what I will say, so if you're buying the property, right? So if you're buying the property and we need to settle on the purchase, then the purchase of the property will be funded like any normal purchase.
Yeah.
And then usually the way we do it at my brokerage, the way we like to do any sort of construction is we'll say, okay, they're purchasing, let's say, for $1 million. And if we know at the back of our mind their construction is going to cost $1 million, we'll service that into the deal at the purchase time. That way it just gives them a bit of safety, knowing that, hey, they're going to pass for the loan for the purchase and pass for the servicing.
Yeah.
Servicing for the construction. Now, it does mean that they'll go formal and settle on the land, and the construction is just going to be pre-approval, and it'll be subject to three things: fixed price builder's contract, specifications, and approved plans.
Yeah.
But that's how we do it if they're purchasing. And it's very similar to if they already own the property, except instead of the contract of sale, we just ask for a copy of a council rates notice.
Yeah.
That basically proves that they own the property. And then once we get those three items from the builder, they're good to go.
Okay, sounds good. And what about from your side, Phil?
Yeah, so Vijay touched on pretty much what you should look for and consider as part of the process. If we step back a bit, there's three main types of funding when it comes to building a duplex. So you've got your bank funding, which is what Vijay specializes in, and that's exactly the path that you would go down. Now, if you meet the bank's strict lending policies around serviceability and borrowing capacity, then that's definitely the path that you go down. But a lot of people, they may or may not know, but there's also the second element, which is the non-banks and the private lenders. So private lenders and some non-banks as well take the serviceability out of the equation. Now, everything that you just mentioned, they would still consider it, but just as a general rule of thumb, I'd probably say some of the ways you fund it, you'd want to set aside, say 20% deposit on the land if you don't already have it, 20% on the construction, and that should ideally get you in that realm of bank funding, non-bank funding, and then if you can't achieve those, then you go into your privates.
Yeah.
And there's
so
definitely
you're a good team.
Yeah, that's right. There's definitely like especially when it comes to duplexes or even bigger like townhouses and all that, the banks have their space and private has their space as well. For example, if you're doing a bunch of townhouses in the eastern suburbs, typically a bank is going to want that to be done as a development loan, and the development loan, they usually want pre-sales.
Yeah.
Now, what do people do when you have to pre-sell? You usually get a discounted rate because you're buying off the plan and the purchaser is taking the risk. So a bank may ask for pre-sales, whereas a private funder might not, which allows the developer to finish the product and maximize
their sales.
That's right.
Absolutely. But also another note, the privates will charge you a higher rate for that increased risk.
Which is fair.
which is fair.
Yeah.
And obviously you'd weigh up paying the higher rate for the higher sales.
Yeah, because you might get to retain everything, if that's your plan, rather than having to do a few pre-sales or
That's right. Yeah.
with a duplex having to sell one side, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. Okay, and so how can people decide what they need?
What they need in terms of so we're talking about what they need to get the loan approved, or when they're trying to find a development.
How can people decide which is the best way to go?
Okay. This comes down to two main things, right? So your deposit and your servicing, right? So I'm going to give you a scenario for both. If you're someone that has the income, has the capacity to service the loan repayments, and you also have a deposit. Now, the good thing with the bank is we can do it with a lower deposit. So we can do it with a 10% deposit. We can even do it with as small as a 5% deposit. Call it an 8% deposit because you need to allow for LMI. But typically we can go as low as a 10% deposit. But you need to be able to service the loan.
Yeah.
So if you've got a smaller deposit but you have high income and can service the loan, which is something that I can help you understand if you can or you can't, that's when you go to a bank. When you can't do those two things, that's when you look to Phil. And Phil's main thing is, what's the exit? Are you going to be able to refi to go to a bank, or are you going to sell it, or what's the plan? And as long as you can prove an exit to him, that's where he comes in.
Yeah, so again, with the what to decide, I'd say it really depends on the individual's goals and personal position of what they want to do and what their plan is around. Are you building this to sell? Are you building this to rent out? Are you building it to move into it? Do you want to live in one side, rent out the other? When you're developing, are you selling it for a profit? All of these options need to be considered as part of the planning, and your structuring plays a big part of it. All of these will also impact the ability to get the financing as well for the project. So some things that people need to decide in advance. And once we have that information, we're able to then say, okay, well, this is the path that will suit you, and this is what I think you should do. And this is going to be, after it's built, this is where we're going to go with this.
Yeah. So question without notice. Don't you hate those? So if I've got a property that has doubled in price, so say I bought in Padstow, 4 years ago, and my property has now gone from, say, 800 and now it's worth 1.5, I know I've got to get a a construction loan to build a duplex. Can I do that without, just with equity
Is it in the land value?
in the
Yeah, so say she bought it for 500, and it's now become the land's worth 2 million, right? So if you've got 2 mil, that's she touched on exactly what I was going to say. So 100%, right? And I actually love those scenarios, and we see it a lot for people that live in more prestige suburbs like
Concord,
Russell Lee, around there,
Lakehurst.
Lakers. They've owned the property for a long time. The typical scenario is mum and dad's family home where all the kids grew up. Now the kids have gone out and they're married and they've moved on, but the parents want to help the children. So they'll say, we'll knock it down. We'll live in one side with one set of the kids, and then another set of the kids can live there, and they can kind of float between the two. But 100%, you can just do a cash out refinance, and if the bill cost is $1 million, provided the equity's in it, you can get the full $1 million. The only thing is that if you don't know necessarily what you're doing, having the cash paying it, like the builder, you just got to make sure the builder doesn't trick you into paying them early.
Yeah.
Where with a construction loan, the bank sort of regulates that.
Yeah, so that's a big one too.
Yeah.
Some builders will try that sneaky tactic where they ask you to front load progress payments. So
that's right. Yeah.
that is definitely
which you warned me about before. And so where does experience come into it? Because we are now starting to see more and more people with that scenario.
Yeah.
But they don't have any experience. And what I always say is just need to make sure that you've got a builder with a really good track record.
That's right.
Because it used to be that if a developer didn't have experience, then you might not get the loan. Was that right?
That's right. Yeah. So especially with like Philip, it comes down a lot to, they call it the sponsor and the builder. They want to know, okay, as the developer, the person who owns the land, have you done this before? What's your experience? And
I tell people not to worry about that.
look, it actually depends on how big it is. Like if it's out in the eastern suburbs and all that, like to be honest, like if you're a builder and you're building really high value duplexes, you probably necessarily would skip the bank and go straight to Phil because the loan size is so big. You actually need his product where you capitalize the repayments, so that makes it easier to work with and stuff.
And you probably get it quicker
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
at a cost.
yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah,
which is fair if it's going to mean that you can actually do the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it started a lot quicker.
Yeah. To go back to your question, like that's a big thing. Like they need to. There's a few things that we ask, and I think the biggest thing that I can tell people is if you don't know, although brokers and stuff, our job is to provide the finance. But if we do this day in, day out, we kind of see it all the time. So we can guide you. Like obviously we can't give you the advice as a builder, but we can guide you on little things to look out for. So I tell my clients who do fund duplex projects or any construction project with their own money, I say, before you pay an invoice, send it to me. I'll just run my eyes over it. Okay? And I'll just see I can just tell you if it lines up with what everything else happens. And luckily, like I do have a little bit of a background in construction, so I understand. So if the builder says, yeah, pay me for the frames, and this has actually happened. A builder has invoiced to pay the frame stage, but the frames are all laying on the ground and they haven't been put up yet.
Yeah.
But to someone who's not in this, they think, yeah, the frames are on site, I've got to pay for it. But they're not realizing that it's about 25 grand in labor to actually put it up. And if the builder doesn't come back, you've lost that 25 grand and you've got to go get another builder. And that happens a lot, especially in this market with all the builders going under and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's all right. That's what we're here for. When we get clients, we advise them, we work together, and yeah, we do what we can.
But if you do go down the construction loan path, you have the safety net of the QS that will go in and tick everything off.
That's right,
Releasing
yeah.
payment as well. So
Yeah.
that is one
That's right, yeah.
positive that you have in that bucket.
So with the banks, like,
On your side, but not on your side.
well, you guys have a QS, and we would have the bank does go out at each stage.
Quantity surveyor.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
right.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with private, it's actually a little bit more. With banks, that they'll send a valuer. Sometimes they don't even do it at every stage, right? But if it's a big loan, they will. They just go there and say, okay, is the frames up? The frames are up. But with Philip, with the quantity surveyor will actually go out there and say, okay, this has been done, and he'll quantify it and then look at the builder's invoice and see if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Missing payment.
I'm glad we clarified that. Yeah. Okay.
But it's cheaper than going down your path.
Yeah, that's right.
Cash out and then
Yeah.
Yeah, that swings and roundabouts, right? And so both of you would know good builders. Not that it's your responsibility, but that's another one of the
yes.
Yeah.
one of the benefits. You know, we all have like good networks.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely do know a lot of good builders, and because I'm in construction myself because I enjoy it. Like I love the process and I love seeing something get built from nothing, the planning and everything. So when I meet builders, I'm interested to see their product, and there are certain telltale signs that I can see this builder actually cares about what he's doing, or this guy just wants to get in and out. So yeah, we do know builders. I hate recommending them. So what I usually do is I say, hey, these are 5 builders that I know. They all do good work, but check them out yourself.
Yeah, because it does come down to personal choice a lot of the time. As long as you've got like good quality people.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah.
They have their character in their builds as well.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Choosing a builder is like choosing a doctor, right? But you're with them, and the effects of being with them for so long last forever. So you need to make sure that you're choosing the right one.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. So, what trends are you seeing at the moment? So,
Trends in. So we're talking about like developments or duplex designs, or in the market.
In small lot development, are you seeing more of the, mum and dad coming in?
Okay, yeah. So one thing I'm actually noticing with construction, given the rates and everything, I'd say like it has decreased a little bit, like the rate of construction, but like I've noticed more builders doing work for themselves. So because they're struggling to get clients who can purchase land and build, they're actually going out and buying the land or getting an option on the land from developers. So developers that do cut up big plots of land. They'll buy a few and then they'll build the product and then try and sell a finished product rather than trying to
Get a client.
Who'll purchase the land, because people can't afford to pay for a mortgage on the land and pay for and build whilst they're renting or their current mortgage. So that's something that I'm actually seeing a lot of, and builders actually prefer that. It's just for me as the broker, I now have to look at my builder client, and I'm making sure he can service taking on 3 mortgages for 3 lots of lands and 3 builds. But I think the people that are doing it, they're making a good profit. It's more seamless for them, and I think the customers like it as well because they can go straight into something. It's easier to service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Phil?
Yeah, so this one's a bit of a. I think this is a big one with widespread implications.
Yes. That's why I asked it.
So there's quite a few changes on the horizon just coming from state and federal government, particularly around addressing housing affordability and supply, inflation, cost of living, tax cuts, and immigration also. So I think a lot of this will become clearer over the next 6 to 12 months as the state elections and the federal election and also the election overseas in the US that'll have a big impact on, from a macro level, on at home. This will then feed into the cash rate and that sort of thing. Affordability will start to come down, and then a lot more people will, I think, come back to property. At the same time, people are now looking at it and saying, is now a good time to start if I've wanted to start on a development, whether it's a duplex or something other. I've seen a lot of projects that in the past people would pick up and throw money at that are actually just sitting and waiting for the right moment because just too expensive and there's too much risk. So people would rather maybe lend that money out and earn a return as opposed to getting involved with construction risk and the associated construction costs and labour shortages and all that sort of thing. So it's fixing itself a little bit, but I think we're still about 3 to 6 months away. And then I think once that happens, you want to be building now for when the rosier times come about. So I think once that's ready and ripe, I think we'll be in a better position, maybe mid next year. So people have that on the back of their mind, and I think they're making decisions based off that.
Yeah.
I think Phil touched on some very interesting points, like where he was talking about the actual macroeconomic side of things.
Right.
I think like now actually is the time for construction, and if you're going to build, now is the time because the sites that are for sale, there's less competition for them.
Doesn't feel like that to me.
Yeah, that's right, because there's a lot of people who know it's the right time to buy it. But yeah, they're all and a lot of people are going to duplexes because they have the equity, or they're partnering with people they know because they know how much money is in there. And like Phil said, building now and in 12 months' time is going to be a very good time to sell because everyone's going to be trying to buy stuff then, but you've at least bought and built. You have immigration numbers set to increase. And right now when the rates are high, not many people are buying. So, well, technically there shouldn't be that many. Well, there's less people buying.
Yeah.
But in a year's time, when rates come down, you're going to see more people enter. So there's going to be more people available to buy end product. But yeah, so I think that's very valid points. And yeah, the smart guys are trying to build now. So like your clients who are looking for sites, that's actually the right thing to do now. Find something and get it underway.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So wrapping up then, given the topic that we've covered today, can you give our listeners any tips if they're thinking about doing something like this?
Okay.
Call me.
Look, if it comes to any sort of duplex construction or whatever, obviously call me. But not only because it's what we do, call me or Phil. It's not because it's just what we do. We actually enjoy it. We love it, right? But look, I'll give you a handful of tips that if you're looking for a site, this is like the simplest way you can put it to look for in anything. All right. Tip number 1, make sure your block slopes to the front of the street. Okay. If your block slopes to the front of the street, it means for stormwater, it can drain to the street using gravity. There's no need for easements. Without getting too technical, don't get me wrong, if it slopes to the back, you can still develop it, but there's certain other...
stormwater's at the back.
That's right. There's things that you need to look for. However, if you got something sloped to the front of the street, perfect. That's right. Simple thing, when you get the contract of sale, go straight to the page that shows you the service diagrams and just check for any sewer easements, right? If you're thinking of building a really nice duplex in the eastern suburbs or in an expensive site like Blakehurst, you want to put nice basements and all that, it's impossible if you've got a sewer line running through the middle because how are you going to dig under it? So yeah, and also check the minimum requirements like lot size and frontage. If you're going to develop in an area, like for example, I want to build a duplex in Blakehurst, then I think you should go out looking for a property knowing what the minimum lot size is
council lot
frontage
size.
is. Yeah, that's right. What the frontage is, because an agent is going to tell you, yeah, I think you can do a duplex, but they always put subject to council. What is it? STCA.
Yeah.
Right, because they just want to sell the property. So as long as you know that this 300 square meter block is too small to build a duplex, then you know you don't even go to the open home. But yeah, 3 tips that can help in any situation. So yeah.
Yeah, just on that actually, and we probably should have spoken about trends and changes. So the minimum lot size is probably
That's
right
right.
for change, and that at the moment is in the works. You've got a lot of councils that are fighting the reduction to the minimum lot sizes, but I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen too.
Push and shove, and that's going to open up a lot of suburbs, whereas in the past you have not been able to put a duplex. All of a sudden, they open up those possibilities. So
Yeah.
It's like when CDC first came in, duplexes, Parramatta and Ryde Council fought it for 2 years. But it's inevitable because we need it.
And now they eat it up. They help.
That's right, yeah.
Parramatta is good.
Yeah, I think that, definitely, that's a huge thing because, and you know how you're saying trends, that change is pretty much going to make a large portion of like, I don't know the exact figure, but pretty much every site's going to almost become a duplex site. So, yeah, it's going to be a really good time for construction.
Yeah.
And you don't want to buy when that change has already come in. You want to sort of be the person taking the risk, knowing that, hey, this might get rezoned and you might be able to build something.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yes, I think you mentioned it already, but if you're looking to build, definitely I would be planning now to get your job started so that come, the back end of that construction period, you've got a house ready to go when it's peak.
That's right.
Positive sentiment, and you're taking advantage of that good time. From that, what else? I mean, when it comes to from a finance perspective, like, have a look at your loans if you've already got them, your asset and liabilities position. Go and have a chat to a broker and see what your borrowing capacity is at the moment. And then, start to shuffle things around, getting ready if you're already at that point, because it's going to take 3 months or so to get through the paperwork and get your affairs in order for you to.
And in saying that, I think the people need to explore the option of a delayed settlement. Like, if you can get a delayed settlement on something, that's just free time to do everything you need in order. But if you're going to get a delayed settlement, with the idea of doing your planning, make sure when you ask for the delayed settlement, you request for access to get a survey done. Otherwise, you just wasted 3 months or whatever your delayed settlement is.
I'm a fan of it, but again, not everyone is. But would you buy first and then sell, or would you sell and then look to buy?
Say that again.
So buying and selling at the same time. Say you want to downsize or upsize or whatever it is. Do you buy first and then sell?
In this market,
negotiate a delayed settlement?
In this market, if you're going to sell and then buy something, I think you need to buy something first if you can afford it, and then sell later. Because now's the time to buy, but when the rates come down, it's going to be more expensive for you to buy. And so if you can try and acquire even though it's not like, people think that the rates are high, the market's low, but it's not. But it'll make more sense to buy now than when the rates drop and the market's even higher, and then offload your property when the market's high, if you can afford to hold it. But
Yep.
That's a good tip.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, thanks so much, guys. And thanks very much for listening. If you would like more information, there'll be links in the information section of the podcast. And until next time, happy hunting.
that's it.
Thanks, guys.